Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
And this is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. It'd be like if Neo and Trinity, instead of saving the world, became podcasters and then saved the world. Is that fair, Cory?
That was one of the more rough ones, I'm gonna be honest with you.
What? It's a great intro. Don't do this.
Yeah,
to me.
I never really got any kind of like buddy partners in crimes or any kind of chemistry ever from Neo and Trinity.
No, it is true. It is. There's like this. We're going to talk about this movie in a second because Cory and I both hate it so much that we couldn't let it rest. But I think the Wachowskis, and I guess just Lana this time, really thinks that we're invested in like the relationship between Neo and Trinity. When I don't think there's been two people who have shared as much screen time as them, who I would believe less have ever wanted to have sex with each other. They're like those two people.
What are you talking about? They always say that they love each other, so it's
now that I'm thinking about it, does Keanu Reeves have like chemistry with anybody?
I think
Great
he's
action star, funny guy. Have I ever believed he's been with any woman that
I feel like he had chemistry with his dead wife in John Wick 1 more than the entirety of the Matrix franchise with Trinity. That 30 seconds of them, like, I believe that they were in love.
It's absolutely not a good sign.
That's not a good sign, no. Maybe he's like kind of the Rock conundrum where I'm like, I just can't picture him having a love interest that actually makes sense.
Yeah, but at least The Rock has the sense in his movies to like, he has a wife a lot, but they never like, she's like, he has to go rescue her, or she's off on like a
his wife
somewhere.
is a plot. It's like always his wife's a plot point.
Yeah, and they never. I'm not gonna say like I'm like a rock scholar, but I don't think there's ever been a rock.
What are you talking about? You're 100% a rock scholar. No. We've seen a majority of his films.
Have I seen a majority of the Rock's films?
That's
probably true.
No, so we have seen a majority. I feel like we're missing maybe like 2 or 3.
But I don't think you can call yourself a rock scholar unless you've watched every episode of Young Rock, which I have not.
I forgot that. I didn't even know that came out. I forgot that was a concept. I didn't even know it came out.
It's a show in which The Rock is running for president in the future and telling his life story, and that's like the premise for how they've managed to do all these flashbacks. You didn't know that, did you? Let's get into this episode. We got a pretty jam-packed episode. Despite the fact that Cory and I have been talking for 2 minutes and 40 seconds about The Rock and Keanu Reeves, that's actually not what this episode's about. In this episode, we're going to be talking about actually a little bit about Keanu Reeves. We're going to talk about The Matrix. Another wrestler. Yes, John Cena. I forgot John Cena was a wrestler. We're going to talk about some new comics. We're going to be talking about the Peacemaker premiere, and we'll be closing out with the first 3 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, which I'm hoping Cory will explain to me, because let's be honest, I don't get it. But as always, a couple points of business before we jump into it. Please go rate us 5 stars on all your preferred podcast platforms. Apparently, all the podcasts I've listened to have been telling me this. You can now rate us on Spotify, so go over there and fucking do it.
Didn't even know we could do that. Yes, go ahead. It takes 5 seconds. Just fucking do it.
Even better, if you're listening to us on Spotify right now, it doesn't even take 5 seconds. It takes 1 second. Just click the 5
Same with
stars.
Apple Podcasts. Just go in there. Like, we're not even asking for a review. A review would be very nice and beneficial, but yeah, just...
Well, yes, but the 5 stars is the most
the 5
important
stars
part.
more important. That's how you get discovered and made it easier to go searching for us. It really helps us out and boost our audience. We really appreciate it.
Yes, of course. You can also follow us at Next Time On Pod on all your social media platforms, and the website is nexttimeon.net with all of our archived podcasts, all of our writing, all that good stuff. The last few podcasts, we're back from our break. Happy 2022 to all the listeners. The last few podcasts will be our year-end list, so if you didn't hear those, you can go check those out. We've got the best comics, TV, movies, and everything else for you. And coming up, our next podcast is going to be our episode 250 special, which is Hush Hush. It's very secret, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So
many episodes.
Check back. I've listened to this podcast that I feel like it's been going on forever, but I guess it hasn't been. It's just time has warped. And they were like celebrating their 70th episode. And I was like, we've done so many episodes of this podcast.
So many. weeks on end of technical content that we've done for this.
And
this
I think
podcast.
if you added up all of the listens for all 250 of our episodes, it would make up half of one Bill Simmons episode if we're
Go
lucky.
fuck yourself. Thanks for that, Che. Don't.
Hey, listen, Bill Simmons is a very successful white man. What can I say?
That doesn't make me feel better.
Well, let's see what will make you feel better. Let's jump into this elevator pitch. Cory, what is a thing that you love for the people? For those of you who are brand new to what the elevator pitch is, Cory and I get a minute on the clock. I hold up my phone jankily to my camera, hoping that Cory can actually see it. And then we each pitch a thing that we really love at the moment that you guys should go check out. So, Cory, whenever you are ready.
Sure. Let's do it. So what I'm going to be pitching this week is a Marvel comic called Devil's Reign. It is a limited series written by Chip Zdarsky. I don't have the artist on hand right now. What it is a major crossover event through a lot of like Marvel's like kind of street level heroes, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Luke Cage, etc. As in the plot line for this is that superheroes are once again illegal. That's like for the 5th time in the Marvel Universe. But what makes this different is it's excellent writing, and just all throughout it's just been a really fun and good ride. I think it's going to end with Luke Cage running for mayor if anybody's just as a plot point to help solve this problem. But yeah, no, it's really good. Kingpin's playing the mayor. It's a continuation of the current Daredevil run, which that's another thing I think you should just read if you ever get a chance to do it. But without doing that, you should check out Devil's Reign. I think it's really good.
All right.
You will be a bit lost without reading Daredevil, so this is kind of my double tricking you into reading Daredevil and then Devil's Reign.
Yeah, I didn't realize Luke Cage was going to be mayor. There's a lot of mayor. There's going to be a lot of mayor talk in this episode today.
That's not confirmed. I think that might just be a plot point they're going to go forward with in this. Yeah.
I think the real question is, would you rather Luke Cage or Eric Adams be your mayor?
I still get mad that Eric Adams is my mayor, so I think
How
that's.
did we as a society let that happen? Come on, New Yorkers, what are you doing?
I didn't vote for him.
I know you didn't. Statistically though, somebody listening to this podcast did, and I want you to look at yourself hard in the mirror and ask yourself, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, seriously, come on. Like, do you just like you know what I hate today? New York. I hate how everything's happening right now. Let's make it worse.
All right, I'm gonna pitch.
Let's get the episode. Oh, sorry.
Cory's trying to jump over my amazing elevator pitch. I've got a great thing for you guys.
You were in a lull. I thought you already did it or whatever.
Cory,
I've been doing this for
a lull. I'm just gassing up.
This is 249 times of doing this, Che. I am very just.
That's fair. All right, I'm gonna do my pitch. Minute on the clock for me, and go. The thing that I'm pitching is season 2 of The Righteous Gemstones. This show is absolutely batshit insane. It's been, I think, almost 3 years. That can't be right. It must be almost 2 years since the first season. And it is, as it's the same people who made Vice Principals, which I think we talked about in the podcast a while ago. And the thing with Vice Principals, it was one pretty good season, and then the second season was incredible. And the first season of Righteous Gemstones was pretty funny, actually. I enjoyed it. It's a little slapstick.
Didn't finish it myself, but it was fun.
Yeah, Danny McBride is great. Walter Goggins is great. But the second season is off to an absolutely insane start, as I suspected. This show is ridiculous. If you haven't seen the first season, just watch like the first 10 minutes of the second season, and I think you'll be sold and you'll want to go back. This show is so fucking funny.
I really have to go back and finish it. It's one of those things that I remember catching up on.
Yeah.
And then like catching up on and then never going back to do it because I'm really bad at following my job of watching things unless superheroes are in them.
Honestly, like I said, the first season, I understand how people get burned out. The only reason I even really stuck with the first season as I did is one, because I'm a TV addict, but also because I knew the Danny McBride partnership was going to pay off in season 2, and it so far it absolutely has. I think, did I send you the clip of the God Squad?
I don't think you did.
So Google Gods, if you guys are listening, Google God Squad, and if you can find the clip of, it is a bunch of jacked, oiled up men jumping out of a van to go to like an Arby's after church. led by none other than Adam Devine.
I
it's great. It's just a great fucking show.
His beginning of that plot, that I'm sure it did pay off, but that plot with him is just fucking amazing.
With him and the guy that he's clearly
clearly in love with.
Yeah. Yes, it is ongoing currently. But yeah, you guys definitely go check that out. I am looking right now. It's 2019. Actually came out August 18th, 2019, which to some people they'll know what that date means. And to others, don't worry about it. It's not your concern. But let's jump into this, Corey. Should we try to time box this? Because I feel like both of us could talk about how shit this movie was for hours.
Let's give ourselves about 5 minutes. How about that?
Only 5.
I think we got some things we want to talk about.
We do have some things we want to talk about.
So let's just keep
we'll be good here. We'll be good. So the movie that we're talking about is, of course, Matrix 4, or in other words, Matrix Resurrections.
And holy shit, am I glad I didn't see this in theaters.
Some people went to see this motherfucking movie in IMAX. Imagine if you paid $20 to see this shit.
I would have been furious because I saw The Matrix, the first one, in theaters when the 20th anniversary, I guess that's in 2019. I saw the 20th anniversary. I'm like, holy shit, I'm so happy I got to see this because it's so much better on the big screen. And me being as like on a speed racer truther on this podcast, I was like, you know what, maybe this can be like the return from movie theaters. Maybe I'm gonna go out and see this. But during Christmas I was over, like, so I ended up watching it at home. Because I'm very happy I did doing that, because it was a very bad movie.
The one not good thing, but I guess it's an excuse. The excuse I will give to Lana Wachowski, who is the sole director of this movie. I think also
she wrote it with the author of Cloud Atlas, but
that's
she did
right,
write,
David Mitchell, a man who I know a lot of literary heads respect. I've read Cloud Atlas, and my review is, don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs and write books, I guess, is what I'm saying.
What about Grant Morrison?
Okay, sorry. David Mitchell, don't do drugs, kids. But the only thing, and it doesn't excuse this movie, because I'm with you, this movie was truly awful, is that clearly Lana Wachowski, and maybe the absence of her sister in here should have been a red flag, Lily Wachowski, did not want to make this movie. And they make that evident within like the first 10 minutes. They were like, this is not a movie we wanted to make. There's even a line where they say Warner Brothers is forcing us to make the sequel to our video game, or, this movie.
No, okay. Counterpoint to that.
Okay.
Did someone walk into her house, get a gun to her head, and be like, you're making this fucking movie right fucking now?
I think probably what happened is a version of that conversation we see is the Warner Brothers was probably like, we want to make a movie to draw people to HBO Max. Matrix is one of our biggest properties.
Because Michael B. Jordan was signed on to do that Matrix movie a couple years ago. It was supposed to be a reboot or sometime in the universe. I remember hearing about this.
And I imagine somebody probably did say to them, we're going to make this movie with or without you. And I can understand somebody wanting to have control over their property if they absolutely can. That does not. I'm not saying that any of this excuses the fact that we had a truly horrible movie, which we did.
And I can understand that. And if this was like, for example, my baby, and I was like, oh, this is my thing, I loved it, and I don't want you to make another one of it, I wouldn't make it this, because and I get what you're saying. I get what she was going for with the whole like, we were forced to make this, and I'm like, but the audience shouldn't have to suffer because you're pissed off, basically. And I think that's a bit more of like a disrespect to people who, I like the first Matrix, and I think 2 and 3 are bad, but I think some of it is enjoyable, and I kind of like a lot of the ideas that they were going for with it. I just thought it was poor execution. This was just like, I like the idea behind I like the idea, but I was like, okay, this is interesting, keeping Neo. What I thought they were doing from the get-go was, I thought Neo accidentally, or they kind of changed it into him being the architect of the Matrix, and I'm like, he's an unwilling person. He's an unknowingly controlling the Matrix, and this little group is breaking him out of it, which would cause like some downfall or whatever in the Matrix. And I'm like, oh, that could be an interesting idea, but that's not what they're going for at all. Because instead of doing that, they were like, okay, this is just now a heist film. And also the fact that Hugo Weaving was not able to return for this is very, very. It is. I think this film could have had some saving grace if Hugo Weaving was back.
Yeah.
But his absence was so clear, And why do we keep giving Jada Pinkett Smith things to do?
Sorry,
okay.
As
I
a
think I missed my
vocal,
rant.
as a vocal opponent, I'm just gonna say opponent of Jada
You can say-
Pinkett Smith's presence in movies. I 100% agree with you. She's by far the worst part of this movie, which is saying something. I will say, and I do love Hugo Weaving, as we've said on this podcast. My favorite part about this movie, and maybe it's because I also love to throw middle fingers up to the fuckboy crowd that populates the internet, but casting two gay musical theater icons as your villains of this movie is just a great move. It's really funny. I don't really love Jonathan Groff. I think he's a little...
Holy shit, is that the guy from fucking Hamilton? Or am I thinking about somebody else?
I don't know if
never
he's in
mind.
Hamilton. I just know he's a musical theater legend. He
Gotcha.
probably was.
I thought he was like
Yes,
the king.
I'm
in Hamilton.
looking at his Wikipedia right now. He was.
He is King George. Yeah, okay. Fuck.
Yeah, he and Neil Patrick Harris. I don't think it's not an accident that they were cast the two villains of this movie.
No,
that's not.
And I get the
definitely
whole
on purpose.
And I get the whole tech bro
Yeah.
like idea behind it. But my thing is like, just don't even reference the fact that he's like Smith. Just have him be a whole new agent.
This movie
And,
is
like,
too meta by a half. It's like
Yeah, and it's
trying
like-
way too much shit.
And if you wanted to do the whole fact like he's like Smith, like don't like at least like have him like ham it up at least. Like at least have him act like Smith and not a whole new character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're talking about Agent Smith being a whole new character. We have a guy who's basically not even like. I love Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
He's not playing Morpheus.
Not
But I
playing
like
Morpheus.
that.
Why bother calling him Morpheus? And
Yeah, but at least in that one they were like, okay, he's supposed to be a different character in a sense. Like he's supposed to be Morpheus and Agent Smith. So he's
Yeah, but
kind of
did it make
hammy.
any sense? Like, why
No,
was
none
he
of it.
there?
None of this makes sense, Jay. That's the most annoying
that's
part
so-
about
you're
it.
right. That's
They
my
kept on
fault.
referencing things, being like he's in like a pocket thing, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He's in a video game, like, I don't know why is this dangerous for you to be in a video game inside the Matrix. I don't know. It was just I just think it was bad. This is a bad movie.
It's pretty disappointing because I am not a Matrix fan. I've been on the record as saying I don't really even love the first Matrix that much. But I can see if you were a Matrix fan how this movie would really piss you off. That being said, though, there are people who like this movie, who like how weird it is, who like the fact that like it's subversive. It's the same people who were like, and I guess you did like the first of his oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. The newest Star Wars trilogy. What's my guy's name?
Oh, J.J. Abrams.
No, other one.
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson, yeah.
He did the second one though. He
Yeah,
did
sorry.
Ricky-
Yeah, you're right. It's the it's like subverting the genre, which I get is cool, and if done right can be great. But if you're gonna make an action movie where your action star does no action, I don't know if that's subversion. That's just a fuck you to the
You
audience.
had a movie where Neo didn't fire a gun.
Neo shoots 0 bullets.
And I think after like just like the force push and stop thing is not like
so
exciting.
lame. Oh my
it's
God,
so
lame.
it's just not exciting, honestly. Like for like an action for a series that like redefined action movies and had like this profound like lasting effect on it. This was just like a wet fart. It was just bad. And
Imagine if you went to go see John Wick 4 and then John Wick shot no Russians.
yeah, it's crazy. Like hey, Keanu, like what are you like so good at when you're an action star? Is he's really good at shooting, looking like he's shooting, doing that whole like tactical bullshit. Let's not have him do any of that. Let's just like not have him use any of like that knowledge or experience in this film whatsoever. And like yeah, like listen, I like some of the ideas, and I even like the whole like Warner Bros. Made us do this and whatever. And the character who makes him get out of the Matrix is Bugs Bunny. Literally, her name. I'm sorry, the fucking Bugs Bunny. The Bugs Bunny thing like pissed me off because they had to point out once like Bugs, like the bunny, and I'm like, yeah, okay, haha. And then they did the "What's up, dog" joke later. I'm like, you didn't need to drop it twice. Either one or the other. You should not do it twice. Or also, she's a giant rabbit tattoo on her shoulder. Yes, I get the joke.
It's such a bummer because I think this is the first performance I think Jessica Henwick has been effectively used in, and what a disappointing movie for it to be in.
Yeah, I think she's the best part of this movie.
Because I know, I agree. I think Jessica Henwick can be great if people stop casting her in shit things.
And listen, maybe Marvel will give her Iron Fist a shot and just ignore Finn Jones.
She's got. I didn't realize
You shake
that. She
your
was
head,
also
but
in
man-
The Force Awakens. She's got like a Disney track record.
She was in The Force Awakens?
She was apparently an X-wing pilot called Jessica Pava. I'm not gonna pretend like I remember who that was.
I have no idea. I don't remember that either.
That's her character.
But you know what? Matrix 4, bad.
Well, let me ask you this: as a fan, you just said you went to the theater to go see the Matrix on the.
Listen, I don't think 2 or 3 are as bad as people say they are. I watched 1 through 3.
So you think this is worse than 3?
I think this is much worse than 3 because at least like 3 with.
I think 3 is worse than this, but I also think they're both.
Have you seen 3
awful.
recently though? Exactly. It's like exactly. I'm just saying. Like,
I think 3 is, from my memory, is pretty.
Well,
shit,
the thing with 2 and 3 is they're not complete movies. They do the whole like 2-parter thing. So I don't think
they came out in the same year.
Yeah, I know, that's wild, insane. I still got to wait another fucking year for Dune. But I'm saying with this, like, it works better as 2 and 3 combined because it's just like this is a long ass movie basically.
Yeah.
And I think 3 is a lot of it. Like the whole fight sequence in Zion, you can cut that shit out and it would be.
I think everything in Zion, as evidenced by this movie, is uninteresting.
Yeah. But I guess like what I mean, like in the parts that I think are at least fun in Matrix 3 is the final fight with like Neo and Agent Smith. It's dramatic as shit in the rain. It's fun as shit, but it's like it took us a while to get here. But this is a fun fight sequence. I had no fun with any of the action in this movie. Like it was not fun. And he kept on calling him fucking what's his name? I don't remember fucking Tom. He kept calling him Tom. Could just say Mr. Anderson, man. Just if you're gonna be Smith.
Well, I think they didn't want to remind you that it was that.
But they kept on giving flashbacks to show that he is Smith.
Yes.
And he kept calling him. They could have been.
Well, okay. So let me ask you the question.
Yeah.
Would you go see a Matrix 5 if it was done by the Wachowskis?
No, not by
the Wachowskis. So this is the end of the Matrix for you. If it's not like a reboot or whatever.
I think it should be a whole new reboot. Give it an HBO Max TV show. I think that's what I would do. Just forget all this. Do a different part of the Matrix. Do like a different, maybe before this. Don't even have to reference it. Just, I don't know. I think you got to move on from that.
Because I do think there is some suggestion, both from how they're talking about the video game at the beginning, like we're going to make 4 more of these or whatever, and how the movie ends, that this doesn't necessarily need to be the end of the Matrix. I'm unclear how successful this movie was because, again, in the streaming era, it's kind of hard to get like a numbers on it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Matrix Resurrection I think there was a lot of headlines about it performing way worse in the box office than some movies that were out at the same time that were theater exclusives.
Like if you're going to a theater,
right?
Yeah, Spider-Man's in theaters. Like, why would you go to a theater not to see Spider-Man? Honestly.
Yeah. So apparently, this made 124 million worldwide, 34 million domestically. That's terrible. That's really bad. But again, all this is like when pandemic numbers and everything, and I don't know. It's hard to gauge this stuff. I'm curious to see what the desire for a Matrix follow-up would be, or really not even just a Matrix follow-up, what the next thing the Wachowskis do, or even just a solo Wachowski movie if people are still on the train.
I think I don't know. I mean, at least for me, this has like made me lose faith in the Wachowskis, or like just kind of like just in general, like not the Matrix franchise, because I think there's so many interesting ideas that could have been played with, that can be played with in the. You have a TV series / movie there where you could just include. You can
let's not let the Wachowskis do a TV series.
I'm not saying I'm saying the concept of the Matrix is like you have a series, an action series that heavily involves kung fu and guns.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot with that.
I think it's blasphemy to say, but I think this movie's way better without Neo and Trinity. I mean, I think the best parts of this movie we saw were new additions.
They shouldn't have
got away from the original Matrix.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they shouldn't have made the plot line basically like a love story heist thing.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was a weird decision. I don't know what they were thinking with that. It wasn't like... And that's why I kind of like the idea of just bringing Michael B. Jordan in when they announced like a Matrix 4 or whatever. It was like, yeah, whole new cast. Fuck it.
Instead, Michael B. Jordan made... oh my God.
He
did make that, but I don't think I imagine that didn't compete with his Matrix schedule.
He was
a
making
movie that
Wild Wild
no
West
human
2.
people ever saw. Was that Tom
Wild Wild
Clancy
West
movie?
2.
Is he really doing that?
No, I was kidding. I'm doing the Will Smith joke that just Will Smith's supposed to be. You know.
I think I imagine this probably competed with his Without Remorse schedule. That Tom Clancy movie that nobody saw.
On
Michael B. Jordan making some choices recently since Just Mercy, which is great, and he is great in it. We've got...
He needs a new agent.
Yeah, Journal for Jordan, Without a Trace, Space Jam New Legacy cameo. So I guess...
cameo was I think the cameo was probably my favorite part of the movie. Because it really got me, honestly.
But why not just be in the movie?
I think the cameo was better.
Did you ever watch Raising Dion?
Of course I didn't. Right, raising who?
There's this Netflix show. It's terrible. Don't worry about it.
I watch important Netflix shows like The Witcher. All right, can we keep going? I think we went over 5 minutes.
Yeah, we did. I'm
supposed to be watching. I thought you had a timer.
Yeah, my bad. I'm fascinated by this movie. I'm fascinated by its existence. I'm fascinated
by it too. It's just like, and I think it's like to be like if they did it well, if they made a good movie and also a middle finger to Warner Brothers, I would have been fine. But they made a middle finger to Warner Brothers and just made it a bad movie.
And all Matrix fans. Yeah.
And all Matrix. It was like pretty like as someone who like kind of like I don't want to say like a fan, but like as someone who has always enjoyed the concept of it, it was just like, what the fuck? Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
this is a movie you come back with 20 years later. This is what you come back with 20 years later to your baby. That's wild to me. That's wild.
The other thing. It's not like 2 and 3, which when you get sequels that close to it, I guess you're often sort of braced for a little bit of disappointment. When you get the reboot, it always just it feels like a cash grab on top of the fact that it's like an insult. Speed Racer, which I think you would say is their last best movie, last good movie, is from 2008.
I know.
It's rough. It's
that is rough.
Very rough.
Very rough.
All right, Corey, let's move on to comics.
Please, something good.
We literally can't talk about The Matrix anymore. First up, we've got Robin. I was going to do it again. I was going to say Batman and Robin, but specifically Robin and Batman, the Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen Elseworld book about
3-issue miniseries. It just wrapped.
Yeah. Corey, you want to run down the general plot of this 3-issue miniseries?
Sure. I mean, the plot of it is, even though it's called like Robin and Batman, the story is primarily taking place from the early days of Dick Grayson being Robin. It's not really a Batman story. I mean, Batman is very much there as like a father figure, but all of the story itself kind of takes place through the narrative view of Dick Grayson having a journal and kind of understanding what like the character Robin is, or like his kind of role. And I think it's a really interesting viewpoint of it, where you have this kid who's the whole point of Robin is like Batman who didn't end up fucked up. Still a superhero, which is still insane, but like not Batman fucked up. And just kind of like working through that whole process.
It's such a low bar.
It is such a low bar.
To be like not as fucked up as this millionaire who goes out and punches criminals all night.
Exactly. But like it's like kind of like, I mean, that's your father figure. But like moving past through all of that, it's just kind of his journey, I think, to kind of get to the point of understanding who he is, that he's not this dark, brooding character. And I thought that Jeff Lemire wrote a really good story, and I think Dustin Nguyen's art, just the watercolor artwork, I think no one else can pull it off as well.
Yeah,
it's so fucking good. But I think it was just like a very quick, well done story about like Robin and Batman.
It's an examination of a relationship that I think, and we talked about this when we talked about the first issue, but I think it remains true throughout. Is like often a joke, mostly because it was played for as a joke in the early days of Batman and Robin. But when you look at it now, I mean, this is a very, especially in this book, you see how sort of complex the relationship is. Batman desperately wants somebody in his world that he can be, responsible
like any
for
type
and
of
true to. And then obviously Robin needs somebody. He needs a figure in his life. And then these two unlikely, and probably, if we're being honest about it, probably not the best for each other, come together to make a
which is good. Which is why Alfred is the very good. I mean, that's why Alfred as a character is such a really good mediator
and again,
between the two of them.
Once again, so important in this. Like Alfred, time and time again, the most important Batman character for stories.
I was just thinking about this now, but it's always funny when people are like, Batman's like, he's like his adopted father technically, but I'm like, in reality, it's more like you're kind of more like the older brother / uncle figure, but like Alfred, I feel like that always kind of like filled in that parental role.
Yeah.
Which I think is also really kind of sad and interesting from Alfred's viewpoint as well, where you have this kid who like you're kind of seeing like potentially the same cycle happening to this kid, and where he kind of maybe like this is just my bullshitting, but like the first version of this just failed horribly. Like he took all the wrong lessons from this. He uses all of like the wrong emotions to kind of tackle this, and in a way that like Robin acts as this kind of redemption for both Alfred and Batman as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like because I always like Batman when he's kind of a secondary character, because if you know what he's thinking it's not as much fun as when like the moments came out, like in the last issue where he's like breaking down and just the raw emotion that's like experienced between the two of them. But I think that's like what Jeff Lemire does in this, where it's like a superhero story. It's just very clearly about the human element behind these two characters.
There's not even that much action outside of the beginning of the first issue and a couple moments in the second and third. There's not that much action.
And honestly, the kind of like the focus on the action is usually just like overly brutal and violent to the point where you're just like, this is not, a child should not be around this.
Yeah.
And I mean, like,
let's talk about another book where kids probably shouldn't be around all this brutal violence.
That's very true. But what did you think, Che? I think I really enjoyed it. I think I'm like, it's one of those number one. Absolutely going to buy a hardcover of this. Yeah, but
I'm a sucker for any book that can explore, and this is not a new idea, but it can explore the human side of Batman. I think Bruce Wayne is such an interesting character, mostly because, as we said before, if you just look at the surface level of what he is, a millionaire who goes out at night and beats people, he's psychotic. He's a crazy person. So when you can peel back the layers and explain the psychosis behind that and explain him as a human, I just think it's fascinating. And doing it as through like the lens of Robin through this character is excellent. And it doesn't hurt that Jeff Lemire is maybe one of the best, if not the best, working comic book writers, and just has this understanding of characters that I don't think most people just really don't, and don't have a way to grasp and put them on page. Even the stuff with Croc is great. Like a character who I will be honest, I just don't care about. And this is.
I was honestly kind of surprised about the Croc turn. In a way, I thought they were going to play it up in a different kind of thing. I thought they were going to make him not the bad guy.
Yeah, the end of the second issue suggests that might not be the case, right?
Yeah, and I think my only disappointment was that Croc ended up just not. I'm not trying to say one-dimensional, but it definitely did feel very like, oh, he's the bad guy. I kind of thought with the way the series was progressing that it might have been a very different progression.
I think that moment we get with Robin is sort of worth it in the end for that, right? Is that yes, we sort of sacrificed maybe an interesting development with Croc, but this growing moment for Robin is, I think, is because that's sort of the point of the book, right? Is to watch this growth of this character, and who will then go on to be Nighthawk and Nightwing. I said that because they call him. He's like, maybe I'll be Nighthawk when I grow up.
Did he actually say that?
Yeah, it's in the first issue. Yeah, it's the first issue where he's trying to decide what his name should be because he doesn't want to be Robin, and he says maybe I'll be Nighthawk or Nightwing. I was like
that's fucking stupid, Robin. Your name is Robin, you'll like it.
Yeah, it's because it's his middle name, right? That's why.
I think
it's from the.
I don't know that. Oh,
it's
fucking! I forgot about that.
Dark Knight Rises.
No, that wasn't his middle name. That was his actual name.
That's right. It was his middle name was.
Why did you go by Robin? Because I'm a grown ass man. I'm going.
No, it wasn't his middle name. His middle name was Dick. What was that? Either way, just what are you doing, Christopher Nolan?
That was such a fucking. I don't know. That was stupid.
Love an unforced error in my movies. Yeah, I'm surprised this was only 3 issues. I know there are 3 double-sized issues. So because or not really. It's more like a 7-issue series than a 3. But I'm surprised it was so short. I guess Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen are out here working though. They got other books going on, so.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Robin and Batman before we move on? Not to be confused with Robin or Robins that are also both ongoing DC series.
Robin is good. Robins is I recommend Robin.
Robin is really good. Then we talked about the first issue of that, right?
I think we did. It's just like it's like, what the fuck is it? The Bruce Lee movie, where there's on an island. I can't remember
oh my god.
The most famous one.
Enter the Dragon.
Yes. It's basically Enter the Dragon, but with like teen sidekicks.
Yeah,
just as much murder.
Great. It's great.
That's still mad about it.
Should we move on to
Jim Kelly.
This Matthew Rosenberg book?
Let's please. Matthew Rosenberg and podcast Ducker. I'm just kidding.
Ex friend of the podcast, Tyler Voss.
Just kidding. We love you. Love you, Tyler. Great. His art's great. This book is fantastic. This is What's the Furthest Place from Here,
which continues to get weirder and weirder, which I kind of love. I have some questions, and maybe you can answer these questions for me. First of all,
basically, guys, the book takes place in this what seems to be a post-apocalyptic world where there's various gangs of children scattered throughout this wasteland. They don't seem to be genuinely aware of like I guess I don't really know like modern technology and I don't know.
Well, that's what I was
kinda-
going to ask you.
It's a
How
weird,
do they
like,
not know what a VHS is?
Yeah. So like you'll have things where they're like very like they understand how records work, but they won't know what a VHS player is or the concept of television. It's a very interesting world where nothing's it's a I think I like world building like this where just the characters are just ignorant to very obvious things. And it kind of progresses from there. But no, you're very correct. I'm like it's very confusing why they don't understand what a VHS player is, but they have the understanding of like just a record player, basically.
Well, it's also like they know what like guns are and like they have understand. But then he watches a TV and he thinks his friend is inside the TV, like he's like
that's like
the character
Zoolander
from The Gods Must Be Crazy or something. Like it's a little. It's taking a little bit of artistic license. I understand. My question is, do you think this is supposed to be obviously not our world, but is it supposed to be the real world? Or are we in a fantasy world? Because there are some weird things that maybe are either just creepy or
this is my. I think it's aliens. I think this is a real world, but I think for some reason, like society has been like scattered, or at least like they've decided how they want like only children to like harvest and grow or some shit like that. And
it's unclear what has happened to the adults. So for people who haven't read this book, you should. 3 issues.
You should. This is a very good 3 issues out right now. It is fantastic. The art's really good, and the general off-putting atmosphere of the entire book is just, it's very strong with Dead Dog's Bite, where it's just like everything feels wrong and no one could be trusted. That kind of vibe, where it's like you wouldn't want to be here, basically.
Yeah. The Bold Folks Home is one of the creepiest things that Rosenberg has ever imagined in a book. A bunch of kids dressing up like old people who are sacrificing other kids to whatever these things are, the strangers. My theory, and this theory could be way off, but I kind of hope I'm right, because I think it would make this book really interesting, is that the strangers are the adults, and the reason they have to like wear masks and everything is because there's some disease that's been killing them. And that's why...
That would be...
The kids seem to know adults exist, and that they are probably out there somewhere, because there's this, when their friend comes back in the first book, they say he's too old to be here, so they're not surprised that he's still alive. They're just
after a certain age they get pulled away or something. But you're right, and also he just does get up and walk away at like, because he just mysteriously disappears. That's a good point.
This book is obviously it's a mystery of some sort, and it's asking a lot of questions that we don't have a ton of interest to yet, but I'm very invested in this world that Rosenberg and Boss are building. I think my favorite part of this is the like every time we meet a new gang, they're like more and more ridiculous. The boys in blue are hilarious. Just a bunch of boys actually wearing blue riding around in a school bus. It's
what the fuck were they're like the Office something? I can't remember what they are, but like they're a bunch of like they look like a bunch of Wolf of Wall Street guys, but they're wearing pig masks. Just no explanation. The market they're looking for is just a Boston market. Just
that was great. The Boston market
that got a good laugh out of me. But yeah, no, as it keeps going on, it gets like the old people's home is fucking terrifying. It's like, why did you punch me? Because you started walking. I was very much on board with that guy's mindset. He's like, don't keep walking at me.
Well, I mean, they were right. We see at the end, they fucking rip their friend's teeth out. These guys were.
I thought it's also that's such a good use of like art where I'm like their teeth look messed up, and I was like wondering if that was just like the style of it.
Yeah.
But I think it was like clearly it's because they have dentures.
Because
they're psychopaths.
They've gone. It's very Norman Bates.
Very Norman Bates. Like Norman Bates, that one season American Horror Story, got that vibe strong. The Asylum. That's the only season I saw. So that's
I've seen no seasons of American Horror
It's not
Story,
missing much.
I would love to say that I have like a grasp of what's going on here, but once again, Rosenberg has just sort of like, I think this is if 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank, I kind of feel like this is how the beginning of 4 Kids would have felt, because you're sort of out on this tether. You don't really know what's going on to begin with. The tone, especially tonally in that book, you're like, is this book serious? Is this a joke? And then by the end, you're like, oh, this book is serious.
Yes, but I think like what's the furthest place from here? I think I love the way the dialogue works here, where it's a lot of repetition, but everybody feels like it's a very organic conversation.
They also feel like kids, which is so.
They do feel like kids. And I love the scene where they're just walking along, and like it's the main girl, the leader of the pack, and the bald kid. I don't remember their names. But they're like having like conversation. People keep walking up and asking him random things, and he's telling them to fuck off. And then it's like, did you tell that person? Did you like yell at that person?
Yeah.
He's like, fuck off. And then the person like, hey, did you yell at these two people? And it's just like, I don't know why. It was just very like, clearly it's like kids looking after each other, and like this is how like this is how they would respond without any kind of mediation or like any kind of parental figures. But no, I'm loving this so far. I like stories like this where I'm just like completely in the dark for most of it. That's very fun to me, and I
think these sorts of stories really only work if you have a cast of characters that you can get invested in, and I'm invested in this group. It's very, Goonies, Stranger Things.
Very Goonies, exactly.
It knows its references that it's pulling from, and I think that's worked for it really well.
And this doesn't seem like the type of book that I'm gonna at the end of it we're gonna be like, this is exactly what happened. I don't think we're gonna get a full on exposition of what happened, but I don't know. That's I
think a lot like Dead Dog's Bite, right? Where
well,
not that Rosenberg wrote that book, but I think I think
Tyler's helping him with writing on this.
I would imagine.
It definitely has a bit of his style from Dead Dogs.
Yeah, they do feel very similar. I mean, is he credited as
he might be
co-creator?
He might be co-creator. Usually means he has a hand.
Yeah, Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg storytelling, and then
that makes sense.
And then they don't even say that Tyler Boss is on the art specifically, but obviously if you've read any of his other stuff,
I'm sure what the process is that like they both came up with the story and they both probably work on the script a little bit, so I think that's probably just what the process is for this.
Once again, I got absolutely fucked by my comic book shop.
Did you not get the record?
I wanted the deluxe edition. I pre-ordered the deluxe edition for issue number 2, and I go in on Wednesday to pick up another book, and I was like, hey, you guys have it? And they were like, oh, did we call you? Because apparently I guess they call you if the shit shows up. I didn't know that. I thought you were supposed to come in and get it.
My shop is just like come in and get it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They were like we only got so many copies, so like if you get lucky and show up early.
Pre-ordered it. He was like, oh, it was sold out. I pre-ordered shit before the first issue.
I would quit. Nah, man, I'm done with that comic book shop, honestly. I mean, hopefully they'll just leave. I mean, I'm just gonna buy like whatever hardcover version of this comes out eventually, but
yeah, but I won't have all of the records.
Yeah, I know.
All the vinyl. Did you see? It's unrelated. Did you see that vinyl outsold CDs for the first time in like decades?
Of course.
Last year.
The future is no longer now.
The future is the past.
Yes. I mean, come on, dude. But I think we should take a break, Che. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we'll take a break and come back and talk about the Peacemaker premiere.
Fly. Do you all have your feathers? Good. Now, don't forget the nice wrist movement we've been practicing. The swish and flick. Everyone? The swish and flick. Good. Oh, and enunciate. Wingardium Leviosa. Off you go, then.
Wingardium Leviosa. Wingardium Leviosa. Wingardium Leviosa.
Stop. You're going to take someone's eye out. Besides, you're saying it wrong. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
You do it then if you're so clever.
Go on.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Wingardium Leviosa.
And we're back.
What's up?
We're blazing through this because Cory's a busy man. And we're blazing through it so fast, I forgot to change the topic, so we're going to do that right quick. But what we're going to be talking about, as I said before the break, is the Peacemaker premiere. Just episode 1. I know 3 episodes dropped, but if you're worried about spoilers, I actually don't really. Can you spoil the show? It's just fun and ridiculous. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about getting the plot spoiled for you guys.
We're only doing the first episode of it, guys, so... I mean, 3 episodes are out currently, but we decided only to cover the first one. Yeah. I'm sure we're going to come back to this, but...
I'll be watching this show very closely. It is preposterous.
First off, watch the Suicide Squad if you have not already. I'm sure people listening to this podcast already have. But the show follows John Cena's Peacemaker character as he's been conscripted into, once again, being part of Amanda Waller's sketchy mercenary crew, whatever, of a bunch of randos. And yeah, it's batshit insane. We were messaging each other while we were watching, and as it went on, it got more and more slapstick and silly. Like Suicide Squad is silly. This show is like, I don't even want to spoil the opening credits. I want people to go into that as blank as I did.
Well, okay, we won't spoil it, but do you think that's gonna happen every week? It can't be there every week, can it?
I hope it's there every week. I absolutely hope it is. But first off, James Gunn, so good at writing comedic conversations that feel like it works so well in this because the Peacemaker character is so insane that like people will have normal conversations with him, but because of him, it just comes off as like batshit.
Well,
but no,
it's not even, the thing is, it's not even every single person that walks into the show is insane. It's like
everyone's I think everyone's a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Everyone's a very like, and I think it's on purpose, which I really like. Like the head of like the I can't remember her name. I think her name's like Hardcore or something. I think it's like Hardcore, and she's like the part of like one of the leaders of his little. I don't know what we're even.
It's Harcourt. Amelia Harcourt, but yeah, it's like they definitely make it sound like it's hardcore.
I never will ever get sick of misogynist men getting their ass kicked by smaller women.
I do love it, but it's also like it's in every movie and TV show now. That anytime now, to the point where I see a woman in a bar, I'm like, oh, which dude with a beard is gonna walk up to her and get his ass beat? And it was two dudes this time.
It was two guys, and then she.
Also, I guess maybe it's because I'm not like a testosterone freaked out guy, but if one of my friends came back to me and was like, I went to go talk to this woman and she told me to fuck off, I wouldn't then go fight her. I'd be like, yeah, sucks, man.
Yeah, it's more crazy that this
next time leave her alone, I guess.
I'm saying this bar seemed like genuinely pretty on the up and up.
When they did the zoom out shot, I thought it was gonna be a dive bar. There's like 4 60-inch TVs above the bar. It's like a sports bar.
Yeah, it's like this shouldn't be happening here, but whatever, you do with what you can do.
I guess people probably have got their ass beat in Buffalo Wild Wings though, right?
I mean, I did once, but we don't talk about that.
The problem is I don't know if that story is true or not. I really want
never know.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, and I guess I think I maybe at this point I should have gotten over that, but John Cena's just like a good actor. He's funny and actually at times can be pretty emotional. I mean, listen to me, he's not Sidney Poitier, rest in peace to the king, but he's good. I think he's really good in the show.
I was surprised how emotional, not emotional act, but like how much like emotion was like filled in with the whole when he was singing into the vibrator at the very end, and Cena's acting there is like it's such a good like mix of comedic, but like clearly something. Like clearly, something's very wrong with.
Well, Danielle Brooks' character makes the observation right before that. I think it's right before that scene. Is like he's sexist, probably racist. He's charming, in his own way, in a way that a sexist, racist pig can be, but clearly something's very broken and sad in him.
Yeah, but he has a big penis. Like he likes to.
Such an upsetting scene. Right? He's like, it hurts people. So why would you say that to anybody, much less a woman you just met? Literally just met.
A bald eagle hugs him in this episode.
I am a little worried. I loved this first episode. I am a little worried that this might fall into the shirtless bear fighter trap, where it might get too ridiculous.
But I agree with you if James Gunn wasn't doing it.
That's true. And I mean, I have a lot of faith in James Gunn, who is, I think, at this point, basically made nothing I don't like. I think he's actually that's not true. I think Super is weird and bad. But besides Super,
did he do Super? Like I never saw Super. That's the one with the kid, right?
He directed it. He didn't write it, I don't think, but he directed it.
I think his brother wrote it.
That's the one with Rainn Wilson is like a douchebag superhero, and that was.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't think I saw that. Yeah, no.
Elliot Page is in it. It's not good.
No, okay. That definitely does not sound like. I don't know. Whatever. But I liked it so far.
I'm a big fan.
And I think it's funny how everything makes sense. Like you walk in, like it's like they don't do anything. Like there's no need to be subtle in this.
No.
At all.
With a character who's literally drives around in a American flag car with a bald eagle, and his father played by John Cena, who is a lot of things, but he's not subtle. No. I don't think you can get away with subtlety in the show like this, so I think it's fine.
I mean, I love the fact they're like in a Chili's and he's just sitting in there in full costume. It's just it's great. And
it's so funny when he's walking up there, like, is this guy in full? I also love they called it cosplay. Is this guy in full cosplay?
It's the universe you live in has the Batman, and it's very well known to everybody. But But it is fucked. His costume is ridiculous.
Yeah, but they're right. Then you would never see Bruce Wayne as Batman go to like a Chili's and sit down.
You do not. No, you do not.
I also think the timing of this is so
I'm
perfect.
talking about she had nice cheeks. I love his character for like shit like that. It's just really good. He's like, no, I didn't mean that, but clearly he's still very bad as a person.
Well, even when he's being nice, like when he's being nice to this woman before she tries to murder him, and he's like, what did he say? He says like wild, like when I was in your pussy, it made me feel great.
Yeah, it was something like that.
What's wrong with this man?
Clearly, I mean, like obviously looking at his father wasn't great.
Yeah,
I don't think that's like actually really bad. Played by the guy who plays every bad dad ever. As soon as he showed up in the beginning credits, I'm like, oh, he's gonna be his shitty father, huh?
Yeah. Do you think Robert Patrick has ever played? Robert Patrick, obviously most famous. I would say probably still most famous for being T2 in Terminator 2.
I always forget that's him.
Do you think he's ever played a good guy?
He has one of those faces.
Yeah, I feel bad for him because he's probably just like a normal,
Hey,
nice
he's good
guy.
at it.
Yeah,
he's good at it.
He is good.
I do love that he had like the same hair as him too, and like it's just he just does some. James Gunn does so many things. It's just like it explains so much in the sense of like just 10 seconds.
Yeah. Well, when we go back to even when we see Peacemaker go back to his trailer, ridiculous.
I thought that was I thought that was his father's house, and then I'm like, oh no, this is his.
That he's been locked out of for 4 years. Yeah, it's just I think everything in the show is really working so far. I hope that it continues to be as good as it is and doesn't jump the shark. But like you said, James Gunn is a man that we have a lot of faith in. So I don't think we have to worry too much about that. I didn't realize, like, I honestly, me, guy who has a podcast about this thing, forgot the show was happening, and I didn't realize how invested HBO Max was until I was in oh my god, what's it called? In New York, Times Square. There you go. I was in Times Square the other week, and
I've been there in a year.
I was going to see Cursed Child, which
how bad was it? No, we're running low on time.
Okay, it was cool, but holy shit, are those actors terrible? And that's all I'll say about it right now. But in Times Square, all of the billboards, I guess basically just giant TVs, were Peacemaker ads, and I was like, oh, Warner Brothers is behind this show. And once you watch the first episode, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I really get it, honestly.
I think the show could be a hit.
I mean, at least that first episode was fantastic. I'm excited to see 2 and 3, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we're probably. I mean, at least I'm going to be watching along, so I'm sure we'll probably keep on talking about this once the episodes.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
We will definitely check back in. Well, on to something that is also a big hit, but I suspect not as big a hit as Disney was hoping. The Book of Boba Fett is.
Sorry, guys, for that background noise. Someone's car seems to be going off.
That's New York for you, baby.
Sorry, guys.
We are 3 episodes into what? It's going to be like an 8-episode season again because Disney.
I think it's 6 or 8. I can't remember.
Just make it I don't want 24-episode seasons to come back at all. Let's be very clear. But I think 6 is too short. Just make it 10. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, just come on. Let me have this. Part of me also is like they're putting out so many shows. They just want to be able to like.
I mean, they're playing as one a month is a necessity, which is smart because if there's ever a month where there's not a show that I either want to watch or have to watch,
you cancel that week.
I don't watch anything on Disney Plus except for the Marvel shows.
Those TV shows. I saw the Eternals in their IMAX format, and it was pretty. Actually, added some to it. It was pretty good.
It's in the IMAX format on Disney Plus.
Yes,
that's pretty cool. I might check that out.
Yeah.
But
the aspect ratio
the Book of
changes
Boba Fett
work pretty well. Sorry, please continue.
Is Corey? I need you to tell me.
Sure.
Is this show good?
I think it's good.
Okay. That's all I wanted.
I didn't love the first episode. I thought it was a bit dry, but I think the second episode is like when it started winning me over.
Okay.
I was surprised how invested I became in the whole Sand People Tusken Raiders plot line.
Great. That's my favorite part of the show by far.
Yeah,
I don't really
think so.
care that much about his what do they call it? The Daimyo?
Daimyo.
Daimyo.
It's
I don't really care that much about
Japanese.
That
It's all of it is Japanese hierarchy that they name it after. I kind of like it from the sense that I was talking to my roommate about it. I'm like, I'm not surprised, but it's like kind of like a crime lord show just kind of exists in the Star Wars universe. It's just kind of very fun that you can like play with a world like that and have that going. Personally, I like that segment because I think the Boba Fett armor is kind of cool. And every time Ming-Na Wen is on screen, I'm like, yes, keep her there.
Yeah, she's great. She's awesome.
I love her. Do I think this is as strong as The Mandalorian? I don't think so. But I am enjoying it. Mm-hmm. And it's weird for me to say this. I think the episodes 1 and 3 are not as good as 2. But it's weird because I think Robert Rodriguez is the director for 1 and 3. And I like him as a director. Yeah. I just kind of felt like 1 and 3 weren't as good as episode 2.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I found watching episode 1, which I think was probably I guess my favorite is actually is the third. But I think they're all pretty close. I've enjoyed the show.
I'm enjoying myself. Yeah.
But I found myself watching the episode 1 and being like, oh, I bet I would really, really love this if I cared about Boba Fett, which I don't personally. But there's always I guess, tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like people have been waiting for 40 years to watch him crawl out of the snake, right? Or worm monster.
Yeah, Sarlacc.
Yeah.
No, wait. I think it's a Sarlacc.
I
lost in the Star Wars trivia last week, and I'm still.
Somebody's going to comment on the YouTube video, and they're going to be really mad about it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a Sarlacc, whatever. Yeah, Sarlacc. I'm right.
And then we see him put his suit on, which I remember back to the first time we watched the Iron Man suit come on. I'm losing my mind, and I imagine there's a lot of people who had that same feeling for that scene. But you're saying, and you're a big Boba Fett guy.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm a big Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
And I guess in a sense that I've always kind of found it I think the Clone Wars cartoon show.
A lot of flashbacks to the one clip from the Clone Wars in this.
It's not a flashback. That's like a whole new kid.
Oh, it's not just a shot.
No, it's a whole. They found a kid who looks just like the other kid. Yeah, it's a whole new kid. I'm assuming we'll get an episode about that.
Yeah, if they recast it, they're gonna have to they're gonna shoot some scenes in that time.
But I don't know. I think the Clone Wars TV show kind of made me care a lot more about these side characters. Mm-hmm. And I had never finished the show. I'm it's like 6 or 7 seasons, so I kind of go back to it every once in a while. But they do kind of focus on Boba Fett from part of it. And I'm I kind of wanted. It's kind of cool seeing the character at that point when he's a child and now as an adult. Mm-hmm. I kind of just like to see how that progression has shifted. Because we always like Boba Fett, and I really liked when he showed up in Mandalorian, and I kind of just like the expansion on that character in the sense where it almost feels like I don't mean this is a disservice at all, but it kind of feels like a comic book of what would you continue doing with Boba Fett? Because I really don't know what would be interesting to do with it. Obviously, the Mandalorian's already a bounty hunter, so you don't want to retread that ground. And I think that was this was a good decision to do it with. I really can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head. I really liked him, and I'm glad that they were able to bring him back for this, just because that's how clones work, and I think that was kind of silly. I think it's a very fun thing to have the same actor. Just I think that's always very cool that you're able to do things like that.
Well, I also think the thing that it's been the case with basically the Mandalorian, the other Star Wars show, is that the set design in this is so great, and I guess that is the explanation behind maybe why 6 episodes, because obviously this is a very expensive show to make, and I think it has to be. If you had a cheap looking show, and there are times where even still you see it's a TV show budget versus it's a movie budget, like when he not kills, I guess because the dog survives, when he's in the camp and he knocks out the dog. So I know how to call it. It's not a great, it's a pretty bad looking model, but kind of the rest of it is really working. I even like we see the Hutt twins, which too close to each other for my liking for twins.
I don't like them. I don't like them.
But they look great, and if they looked cheap, I think the show just doesn't work. Which is what we've seen. There's been a lot of different sci-fi shows on Sci-Fi, for example, or on Netflix or all these streaming. They didn't put a lot of money into, and it ruins the experience. Which this definitely doesn't look cheap. What
Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have done for these 2 Star Wars shows just shows their attention to detail and why that works so well.
Yeah. When's the next Star Wars movie? Is that planned yet?
They have not. I don't think they've announced anything. I
wonder. Do you think this is just Star Wars for?
I think Taika Waititi has a movie. Apparently, he signed on to a Star Wars movie, so I think he might get one. But I think for at least another year or 2, this might just be TV shows.
It'll be interesting to see because
honestly, I'm kind of preferring this because I think I really enjoy these Star Wars TV shows more. Because I like the universe and I like the subtle lore building. Also, the Boba Fett show is just Dune, and no one's talking about it. It's only, I'm just kidding, but like the second episode was just like he's hanging out with a bunch of sand people who like get water, and that's important to them. And he's also going this weird vision quest. Just getting a lot of that.
I'm enjoying the flashback is, like I said, my favorite part. I'm enjoying this world that and I again, like, if, I can understand if you were invested in Boba Fett, how this could be so cool, seeing this backstory of this character. Yeah. I'm glad. When you mentioned Taika Waititi, I brought him his IMDb. I didn't realize they just crowned him the king of nerds. His next movies, that some have been announced, some have been confirmed, are Thor and the Love and Thunder, The Inkle, untitled Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. Wait. A Time Bandits TV show, a Flash Gordon movie, and apparently an Akira movie.
I don't think there ever will be an Akira movie. But
he is as director and screenplay writer. How
the fuck do you make The Inkle? But that's a different conversation.
I would love. I mean, you know who else is on? Is also credited as writing that right now. It's him and Jermaine Clement are apparently teaming up. Jermaine Clement, who wrote some of the. What did he write with him? He wrote some of the.
Didn't he write What the Shadows movie?
Yeah.
They worked on the movie. I think like he wrote the movie
but
as
like
well.
The tone of The Inkle is not the tone of what we do in the Shadows.
It's a little silly, but it's not
silly, but it's not like
not that
comedy.
Silly. No, it's not a comedy. That's for sure.
So I'd be very interested to see that. But that was a sidebar.
No, but like so far I'm enjoying the Book of Boba Fett. I think I'm enjoying it. I kind of like the whole like, yes, we're finally giving him a backstory and like we're actually giving him the character. Everyone's like, he's cool, but like, okay, he's a character now. He's doing this thing, whatever. I don't know if he's gonna survive to the very end of it. Who fucking knows? But I enjoy a good like crime thing, and it's very Western, and like I love Westerns, and I think Star Wars just does, like, whenever they want to like lean into that, I think it's always really fun.
I think that this is also the thing that when people lament the death of movies and everything, this is the sort of thing they're talking about in a way where like all these genres that, you know, like Westerns, like crime movies, like just like comedies in general, they've become superhero and Star Wars movies, which I would love to see just a Western, obviously, but if to get it made, to justify it, we need to wrap it in a Star Wars or a Marvel or a DC skin. That's fine with me, and I'm with you. I think this is a very cool Western. We've got a great character at the center of it.
If anybody walked up to me and they were like, Corey, do you want a Western on Earth or do you want a Western in space? I'm always going to say space. I'm sorry. That's just maybe how my brain works, but always space.
I think obviously a lot of people would agree with you. I still think I'd want a couple Westerns with like actual cowboys. And
go back maybe to the 70s and 80s then, Che. You got plenty of them there.
I do. I keep watching them.
Yeah, whatever. But I got nothing else to say about Book of Boba Fett, honestly.
I know. I will say I don't know if the bit of casting British comedians as your robots. I love Matt Berry. His voice is not a robot voice. Every time the robot speaks and it's clearly Matt Berry, it throws me off a little bit.
Clearly, we've got to get Alan Tudyk to play every robot in the Star Wars. I mean, the comedians in the robots thing has always been a thing.
Also, that's a good point, because wouldn't all robots just have the same voice anyway?
Shut up.
Shut up with, we're going to take offense to that one.
Shut up with your logic. Get the fuck out of here.
There's like a billion iPhones out there. They all have the same voice. So.
Nah, mine's Australian.
That's true. Mine is. I don't have an iPhone. I want that on the record. But mine is a British lady.
They're just smarter than us.
Yeah, I am excited to keep watching this show. We will undoubtedly check back in.
Definitely. I mean, it's only got 3 more episodes left, so.
Jesus Christ, Disney. I might just cancel Disney Plus just for 1 month just to show them, just to stick it to them.
Just to stick it to them. But I like watching the premieres.
What's next month? Is Moon Knight next month?
I'm not entirely positive. Don't put me on the spot like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't actually know if they've announced anything that's coming up right afterwards, but I know Miss Marvel and Moon Knight are like, I gotta assume they're about ready now, so I'm sure they're just putting on the finishing touches for those. But yeah,
we'll talk about those when they come out. We'll definitely check back in with this Boba Fett and Peacemaker and all the stuff we talked about today, except for Matrix Resurrections. We will never mention Matrix Resurrections ever again.
Was that like a vampire at the end of Peacemaker? I don't know what the fuck was going on there. They just don't really. That was
growled a lot. I did wonder because you
got
never see her
stabbed
talk.
a bunch.
Do they just not talk to each other?
I don't think they do.
More proof that Peacemaker's maybe a bad guy. Not a great dude.
No, easy.
Maybe not a great dude. All right, Corey. Anything else to say on these things we talked about before we let the people go?
I do not.
All right, well, just a reminder, our next episode is going to be the episode 250 special. It'll be a lot of fun. In that episode, we're going to announce our book club and movie club for January because they're returning. And once again, the plugs, go rate us 5 stars. If you've made it all the way to this episode, you either fell asleep with the podcast on or you really love us. Either way, go drop us a 5-star review. It really helps us out. You can follow us at Next Time On Pod on all your social media platforms. And don't forget to check out the website, nexttimeon.net. And if you're not watching the YouTube video right now, check out the YouTube channel. This podcast and the last 8 at this point will be videos up there. You can find the link in the description below, like I said. Corey, anything else for the people?
I just don't understand how you can listen to this podcast and go to sleep. My voice is grating. No, I have nothing else.
It's because I don't tell him, ladies and gentlemen, but I up his treble all the way. I fuck his shit up in the post process. Corey actually sounds like a regular human being. You're like, who's this Alvin and Chipmunks ass nigga that Jay's been talking to? It's because I'm on the dials, Corey.
I'm just gonna keep my voice. I'm just gonna go back.
Just
to
get talk like this for the rest.
I'm just gonna talk low like this. Well, thank you everybody else for coming out to the Next Time On podcast. Looking forward to the next
NPR
episode.
voice on. All right.
I know.
Right. Well,
I've
been Che.
I've been Cory.
We will see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening.
Sweet Christmas.